Hello and welcome to this short video on Marxist views of culture. So I've been asked to talk about global culture, cultural diversity and cultural hybridity. The first point to make about Marxism in sociology with socialization, culture and identity is capitalism is exploitative, so it's an unfair system, and socialization, where we learn norms and values, involves indoctrination, a type of brainwashing into capitalism, the views of the upper class, or the views that the upper class want us to have. And so we have this sense of, or we have this false class consciousness. So we see ourselves as individuals, the working class see themselves as naturally inferior, and the upper class see themselves as naturally superior, with the right to rule, and it's normal and inevitable for society to be divided unequally. Marxists argue, following Hegel, that human beings are naturally equal. We are species beings, we're the only beings with consciousness, and therefore able to change our own destination and affect our own evolution as a species. Hegel argued that religion was a projection of human consciousness, all the qualities of consciousness like kindness and loving benevolence, projected onto a kind of separate entity in terms of God. So in terms of culture, culture is a capitalist culture, which keeps us in our place and stops us from having freedom. Identity, we see ourselves as belonging to classes, but we also see ourselves as belonging to different age groups. Obviously gender, we're divided by gender, we're divided by race and disability. And Marxists have been very influential in arguing that these divisions are false, that the only true division is property divisions, which is whether you own, and you're an owner of property, or a non-owner, in which case you're a slave to the economic system, to the rich. The other divisions are just illusory and not real, because they keep us divided, rather than enabling us to be together as one working class with the power to overthrow the rich. So age, gender, ethnicity and disability are divisions which divide the working class, enabling the upper class to conquer them, according to Castles and Cossack. Global culture, Jameson is a postmodernist influenced by Marxism, who argues that there's global exploitation. So in terms of global culture, the spreading of kind of Western consumerism and capitalism for Marxists would be seen as negative, as a bad thing. It's just creating more exploitation. It could be good if it spreads Marxist ideology and the view of capitalism as bad. And in some senses capitalism is being challenged, with some arguing for a global wage. Globalization enables for the exploitation of a global labour market. So people, in the West can suffer because jobs are put overseas. People lose work in the UK, and they have less leverage, they have less power to campaign for higher wages. So you can see the whole system as a profit-making global machine. Cultural diversity, in terms of the division of groups, the Marxists may support groups in having more freedom to express their individual group beliefs, such as Muslims having the right to practice their faith. Marx argued that the national identities would break down and class would become the new important division between groups, which would unite all nations in working class solidarity against the rich. Cultural hybridity. Marxists argue that culture and the division between high culture and popular culture is another way of exploiting the masses, exploiting the poor. New forms may be generated, but ultimately Marx originally thought that class, all the other divisions, separated us from the reality of our shared humanity and equality. Neo-Marxists like Hebdige have looked at culture in terms of resistance and new forms of identity which can be to do with the resistance against class exploitation and racism. So they may see things slightly differently. So they say cultural factors can affect identity as much as economic factors. So we have new forms like Rastafarianism, skinhead subcultures, which can arise with the diversity, immigration, and the class system that creates more complexity. So generally Marxists are critical of culture itself and the socialisation process, and a lot of identity based on that is an illusion.